Hey there, welcome to day 336 of our Get Your Goals annual challenge. Today we're going to talk about, or let's at least start talking about, different ways to get back on track. Now, I think I admitted over the last couple of weeks that I got off track in a couple areas and aspects of my life this year in the life framework with respect to my goals. Happens, right? Life gets busy. And so what do we do when we notice that we're off track? First thing we have to do is notice that we're not on track toward moving toward getting our goals, toward achieving our goals, and that something has changed and we need to pay attention to it, right? That's the first step, is noticing that we're off track. Well, how do we notice we're off track? Step one, follow our goal process. If we use this framework to set up our goals, we've automatically created milestones and systems and steps and measures to know if we're making progress or not. If we're missing a milestone, then that's the first indication that we're off track and we need to tweak our plan and change our strategy, maybe probably just tweak our plans and implementation, not our whole strategy, but we need to do something in order to get back on track. And I will admit, I didn't do that in a couple areas and aspects of my life this year. I didn't do it with respect to my financial one that I had set as part of this challenge. I'm on track for my other financial goals, but I had set a new one as part of this challenge, and it got lost in the shuffle because I didn't keep track of my milestones with respect to it. Same is true of my spiritual goal. A lot of things happened this year, and I was challenged to remain the human being that I want to be. So some of my spiritual things just got ignored. So last month I decided, actually I think this month I decided I was going to combine my spiritual, my financial, and my contribution goal, because October was contribution goal month. It was last month. And so I started working on creating a nonprofit for blind people, because I'm one of them. And I've been learning a lot about blindness and the extent of the problem that it is. And, you know, it's like anything else. There's so many different causes and so many different things that play into it. And everybody who's blind we have some needs in common, but we have a lot of needs that are unique and special to us. I do things that a lot of blind people don't do that mean I have different challenges than other people, etc. So what are some ways to get back on track? I'm just going to brainstorm. I brainstormed a big list of different ways to get back on track. I've done all of these at some point in my life and career because I've been a goal setter since I was a teenager. My dad was a big proponent of having goals, setting goals, and writing them down. He worked at 3M his entire corporate career while having businesses on the side. I wonder where I got it. And so he taught us from a really young age, hey, if you want something, make it a goal, write it down. And that was about the extent of it. He didn't teach us how to achieve that goal, just keep trying, keep at it, and things like that. But over the years, I've learned a lot of things about goals and goal setting. So one of the things that we need to absolutely positively realize is we should try to, as we're setting our goals, anticipate problems and obstacles that might come up along the way so that we can be prepared for them. Are you going to be prepared for life and all the stuff it throws at you? Probably not. You know, in my 63 years, I am still continually surprised at the crazy things that life can throw at us and that we need to deal with on a regular, usually daily basis. Things change all the time. Our environment, our everything around us changes all the time. And so the only thing we can really control and manage is us and our response to those things. So one of those ways to do that is by being prepared. And maybe that has to be a step in our process. What could go wrong? What are possible things that could impact this goal? And so I'm going to think about that today. Maybe we need to add that as a step to our process. Maybe as we're creating our story, step one, we need to say what could possibly go wrong before we even set our SMART goal in step two. So we'll think, I'll actually think on that today and see if adding that would actually help us in the long run. I think it might. We want to set accountability goals and retrace our steps as needed. We need to go back and check on things as needed in order to make sure that we get our goals and objectives. Now, in my life, I have goals and goal checks set in. Usually once a month, I check in with my goals and see if I'm on track and if I'm following everything. Did not do this year in a couple of areas, and I'm not going to make excuses. I just didn't do it. I let it fall by the wayside because of other impactors of life getting in the way. And so I think perhaps I should have an accountability partner that holds my feet to the fire when it comes to always doing what I say I'm going to do. Now, keep in mind, I didn't not do what I said I was going to do to any other person. These are just my goals, the things I set for myself to accomplish. And they're pretty darn ambitious. And so I can cut myself some slack when I get a little bit off track. Find an accountability partner if that works. I think I might do that for certain areas and aspects of my life. For sure with this nonprofit for the blind, because I definitely need help doing this. It's outside of my wheelhouse. Anything nonprofit. I've never set up a nonprofit before, so I'm going to need experts and people to help me do that. Journal your way through problems. I do this. When I have a problem or a challenge, I write it down and document it. Why? Because it helps to internalize the lessons learned so I don't make that same mistake again. Or if a problem similar to that comes up, I know that I can deal with it because I've already handled it before. Reframe any slips that you have or anytime you get off track into a learning lesson. Look at, well, what I know exactly what caused me to get off track in a couple areas and aspects of my life. Not going to share them here because it's personal to me, but I know exactly why and how I got off track. Again, a lot of things outside of our control will shove us right off our course, and we need to notice so that we can get back on. Remember your why. When you get off track, when you notice that you've gotten off track or something slipped or something environmentally. I mean, who planned on the pandemic? I sure didn't. So a lot of my goals were impacted. Now, I didn't let go of them. I just had to totally rewrite and redecide how I was going to go about it. So mostly it was strategy that had to change and methods and tactics and processes. It wasn't that I was letting go of my goals in 2020. I just had to say, okay, this whole environment has changed. How is that going to impact my ability to get my goals and objectives this year? But remembering our why is one of the fastest, easiest ways to get us back on track. Whenever I get off track and think about the reason I set that goal in the first place, and that's why we do the 7 whys for each area and aspect of our life as part of our goal setting process, or not, I guess it's part of this challenge, not necessarily people's goal setting processes. But remember your why. Reflect on what might be holding you back. I do a lot of reflecting on what has been holding me back in certain areas and aspects of my life. And then I step out of my comfort zone and make some choices and challenges to take care of that. Sometimes we have to revisit and recalibrate and re-examine the goal that we set for ourselves. I have set goals for myself for a 1-year period on occasion that, because of things that happened, such as COVID pandemic, they were totally out of the realm of possibly achieving during that time period. So I had to reset and recalibrate those goals. Recenter and take action. Don't turn any lapse or getting off track into a moral issue and beat yourself up. That's not going to do any good. It's certainly not going to get you to solution fast. Don't try to make up for any slip by punishing yourself, by being super disciplined or getting up 3 hours early or working 4 hours late or whatever, depriving yourself of anything, sleep or nutrition or taking care of yourself, etc. It's really, I will say I'm totally guilty of this when I, especially when it came to weight goals and weight loss goals and things in the past. When I was younger, if I had a slip, if I ate one thing I wasn't supposed to, I would, like, for the next 7 days, punish myself and have to work out twice as hard or not, you know what I mean? Just silly things that never really worked out that well for me in the long run. Look at the big picture. Remember the big picture of the direction your life is going. And if you keep that in mind, and if you're moving toward that all the time, then the little slips and the little times we get off track in our goals just don't matter. Actually, in the big picture of things, generally, they matter to us, but for the most part, the rest of the world wouldn't even notice. Renew your motivation. And again, asking myself, well, what's the reason I wanted to do this in the first place? What's my why? Usually brings me back to getting motivated pretty quickly again. Plan ahead to keep yourself on track and to keep temptation and distractions at bay. One of the biggest things we need to do in the world nowadays is limit distractions. Remember, when I was younger and setting goals, we didn't have 1,000 television channels. We didn't have entertainment at our fingertips. We didn't have the internet or online shopping or any of the things that or social media. There was no internet. There was no social media. If you wanted to interact with people, actually physically pick up the phone that was attached to your wall and call someone or send them a letter. Heaven forbid, handwrite them a letter or note or an invitation. don't even know if people send physical invitations anymore. So don't deprive yourself. Don't stop moving. Sometimes when we notice we're off track, we freeze and we don't do anything. We just beat ourselves up and we go in this little vicious circle until we realize that that is not doing us any good, and that's just keeping us stuck longer. So don't stop moving forward. As soon as you know you're off track, just immediately say, okay, well, what do I need to do? What's something I can act on right now to get me back on track? And that's actually our action item today. Just take a quick overview, and we did a lot of this last month, of where you're at with respect to your goals and objectives right now. And notice just one area that you've slipped off track, or you're not going according to plan, or your plan needs tweaking, and pick one thing today that you're going to do to move you back toward getting on track. Or maybe your one thing is, okay, I need to re-examine this goal and objective and be really smart about what are some things I can do to get back on track or get it, or maybe I have to rewrite and retweak this goal a little to actually achieve what I want to achieve by the end of the year. Use our goal process framework. That is a good way to do that. And again, I will look at and think about, do we need to think about possible obstacles along the way? I usually do that automatically, but maybe it needs to actually be part of our process. And then change your routine, right? Don't stop moving and change your routine. Focus on your goals. Focus on your priorities and what's important to you. We talked about that yesterday. A lot of times when we get off track, the reason is we have priorities that have shifted and become more important than the goal that we've gotten off track on. And that's perfectly all right, right? It's our plan. It's our tool. It's making our life work out so that we can get what we want. So we have the power and the responsibility and the authority over ourselves to change anything, anytime that we want to. So love to know how you're doing with this. If you're stuck in any area, if you find you're off track and you're like, I don't even know what to do, I'm so off track on this, just hit me up and we'll talk it through. Otherwise, have an awesome day. This is just a check thing, and it's something we usually should do along throughout the year. But throughout the goal challenge, sometimes I get off track because I'm so focused on what we're doing in the given months that I drop my personal practice, which I already know my way to get back on track is to schedule these reviews of my goals into my actual calendar. Usually pretty good about that, but not this year. This year has been seriously a crazy, crazy year. So much has happened. I can't even go into all of it. It's some good, some bad, some ugly, just like every other year of my life, right? But if I can help you anyway, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow. So have a terrific day. Have fun with this. Realize nothing ever goes according to plan, and we all get off track. All right. Have an awesome day.